when he saw the money changers and the money lenders in the temple. He felt they were desecrating the space, and he lost his temper, and he went from a peaceful, kindly, generous, compassionate soul to a quite a violent person, actually whipping people in the temple to get them out of the temple. He actually completely lost his temper, but in a way he didn't lose it because he was in control of the situation. It didn't end with him being taken away by the police. There may be 2 or 3 times when he may have lost his temper or became angry. Was when he was standing before the Pharisees and the people who basically had power at that time over the people. And I'm sure people were very surprised to hear that tone of voice from him, because he wasn't a person who was known to go around being angry and condemning people. So when he did become angry and start condemning them and calling the Pharisees hypocrites and calling them, like, you know, the lowest form of life on earth and everything, and just really laying into them, they all stopped and became silent and listened to him, because it's probably, you know, they were so surprised to hear him speak like that, because that's not how he would speak. Whereas if he was always angry, if that was his ministry, that he went around condemning people and being angry all the time, then he would have had the reputation just as an angry person. And I don't think people would have taken him so seriously. And when he would have then stood up in front of the Pharisees, instead of him getting the response that he did, where people wanted to stop and listen, and it probably really hurt their heart, some of his words, instead of that response, if he was just an angry person that was just known for losing his temper all the time, they would have just thought, oh, here he goes again, you know, calling us hypocrites. He's always calling us hypocrites. Here he goes again, you know. But he didn't have that reputation. And I think that's what we can take from the story of Jesus in the Bible, is that in the whole Bible, he only got angry maybe 2 or 3 times. But the amount of times that he actually became enraged, you can count on one hand, maybe 2 or 3 fingers. And which shows that most of the time, the person that he was someone who was very forgiving, very kind, very generous of himself, demonstrated a brotherly love with his disciples. He demonstrated immense humility by washing, I think he washed the feet of a prostitute. You know, the Son of God washing the feet of a prostitute. He demonstrated immense humility, the complete opposite of pride. And he was trying to teach us about love, you know, compassion. And so I think that's the lesson we can take from his story. And it is true that they say that, you know, in the New Testament, in Revelation, Jesus is meant to come back in a completely different way, where he's treading on people like a wine press and crushing them like grapes in a wine press. I think it said that in Revelation. So that's a completely different side of Jesus from the rest of the Bible, where he's going around healing and feeding people, feeding the poor, and casting out demons and healing people. But it's been argued that that story was put in recently with the New Testament, with Revelation. It's been argued that that whole book is a fraudulent book, you know. But then there's a lot of arguments going around about the credibility of certain scriptures and stuff, but it's been argued that that whole Revelation scripture It was a very recent thing that was put in and doesn't actually go back to ancient times. But I mean, I suppose that's neither here nor there. The simple fact of the matter that is, even if you were to include that if Jesus came back in Revelation at the end, and crushed people like grapes in a wine press with his anger, that would still only be 2 or 3 times in the entire Bible, in the entire biblical scriptures, where he became angry, and the rest of the time he wasn't. And what we can also learn about those specific times is that in each time he was slow to anger, because if he was quick to anger, he would have been getting angry every day. But he only got angry, say, 3 times in the entire Bible, which shows that he was slow to anger, just like it says in Corinthians 1:13, I think, that love is not quick to anger. And he demonstrated that because he was so slow to anger that he was only angry, say, 3 times in the whole Bible. Learn from his example. That if we want to follow in his example, we can't be the kind of person that's going to get up every day and think it's okay to start shouting at our neighbour, or to go down the street and get in an argument with somebody at the bus stop or at the local cafe or something, and make this a daily thing, and then say that we're a follower of Christ, because that's not the way that Christ lived his life. If you can say that during his whole lifetime, as demonstrated by the scriptures, that he only got angry 3 times, yet we can go through our lives getting angry every day and come to the end of our lives and say, how many times did you get angry? You can't say that you followed Christ's steps and you were only angry 3 times. You would have to be honest and say you were angry nearly every day of your life. Therefore, you were not following in the footsteps of Christ. And Christian is meant to be Christ-like, to follow in the footsteps of, to be like. So that means to be like Christ. To know you must be like, kind of thing. I think we can gain a lot from looking at things in that way.